Hello, everyone. My name is Taquan Middleton, and today I'll be talking about the famous architect Louis Sullivan. Louis Sullivan was born in 1856 in Boston, Massachusetts. He was known as the father of modernism as well as the father of the modern day skyscraper. Louis Sullivan is very influential because he was the first one to innovate the skyscraper and the elevator and put them together. It was important because tall buildings, people didn't want tall buildings because people would have to climb up the stairs. But Louis Sullivan was the type of person that was like, you know what? I'm going to give them something. I'm going to, use one of the modern inventions of our time and incorporate it into my building and design. So he was really a big, good guy for that. He grew up in Boston, and as a child, he always was interested in building things with blocks and things like that. His family owned a farm, and oftentimes he would just walk around downtown Boston and just admire the buildings and the vast architecture that surrounded his environment. It was important to his overall development because he noticed that he loved buildings. As he was a teenager, he went to France. He went to France and studied Beaux-Arts. This helped him with his organic nature, which he used inside of his buildings. This is a model that I created, and the model is basically a replication of a building by Louis Sullivan. Now I did this by hand, and as you all can see, it exemplifies his usage of spandrels. Now what a spandrel is a piece of material that spans to cover the floor. In each one of my designs on my board, I show a piece of horizontal material that signifies the floor. His spandrels are usually dressed with like organic vines and leaves, which he learned back in France when he studied Beaux-Arts. He was one of the only architects to incorporate spandrels, organic nature of the spandrels, and his usage of the spandrels of every level to express the verticality of a building. Louis Sullivan was one of my favorite architects, and he is extremely, extremely, extremely influential to me because I'm an architect myself. He also designed a building called the Chicago Theater, and the Chicago Theater was one of the first buildings to use what we know today as the Con Edison light bulb. Now, Edison designed the light bulb in the late 1800s to early 1900s, between that time. Now, when he designed this light bulb, Louis Sullivan was so fascinated with this creation that he used thousands of these light bulbs to dress his entire inside of the theater. Now, when he did this is super because people were like, wow, this guy is innovating and he's using new technology of his time. Come on, can't beat that. So today, we have big skyscrapers. We don't use a lot of light bulbs nowadays. We use fluorescent lighting, LED lighting now. But he was the pioneer of what we know today as the big architects like Frank Gehry and Daniel Libeskind and stuff like that. He was a pioneer of people like that. Frank Lloyd Wright also worked with Louis Sullivan. Frank Lloyd Wright created the building Fall and Water. Fall and Water is known today as beautiful work of architecture. It actually inhabits the nature and uses the waterfall as the building. So cool, so cool. I wish you guys could get out to see that at some point. Louis Sullivan is, I wouldn't say an idol, but I would say a role model to me because I feel that I'm an architect and I need to be innovative. So as long as I can incorporate new technology in my building, I'll be more than happy to create a fabulous work of art like he did. He did many buildings like the Guarantee Building, the Union Trust Building, Auditorium Building that I spoke about in Chicago, the National Farmers Bank, People Saving Bank, and many, many, many more. Louis Sullivan is not only a pioneer, not only an inspiration, but he's an architect. Because an architect makes sure that we can enjoy the space that we walk through. It's not too vast, not too small. You can feel comfortable. and we can get fabulous views from like the high-rise levels. He also came up with the term form follows function. Now what that means is whatever function an organism has, the form has to work with it, like a watch. A watch is made to tell time. A clock is also made to tell time. But a watch is for humans, so we can tell time mobilely, like while we move around. So it's made to wrap around our wrist. A clock is made to just sit on a wall. So basically the form of a watch and the form of a clock, even though it's the same thing, they have two different purposes, which means that the form of a watch follows the function of the watch. The form of a clock follows the function of a clock, just like the form of a TV follows the function of a TV. This was very, very important because as he continued his life as an architect, as a big architect, he created these buildings, and these buildings were like superb. He didn't want to be like the neoclassicists. Now, when I say neoclassicism, I'm referring to buildings like the White House, the Capitol building in Washington,